All right, so today we're diving into some pretty interesting stuff. We're talking about former President Trump, the Secret Service, and a day that seems to have kind of flipped their world upside down.
Mhm.
Our source is a text. It's titled Simply Pasted Text, and it reads like a political thriller. It details this unexpected visit that Trump made to Secret Service headquarters.
It is fascinating because this source, it really dives into the inherent clash between the rigidity and the meticulous planning of the Secret Service,
Yeah.
and then the unpredictable nature of, well, Donald Trump.
Yeah, it makes you think about the level of access that a former president still has. So the text describes Trump just casually strolling into headquarters, completely unannounced. What kind of chaos do you think that caused in a place like that?
Absolute pandemonium, I would imagine. I mean, we're talking about an institution, one that's built on routine and security protocols. The Secret Service thrives on knowing what to expect, and Trump's arrival throws that completely out the window. And not just any visitor either, a former president with his own security needs, a personality that commands attention, and a history of, well, let's just say doing the unexpected.
Okay, so the text goes on to describe how Trump moves through the building, bypassing places you might expect him to visit, like the Operations Center. And he heads straight for the tactical training facility.
Now that's interesting. This isn't just some random room. It's where agents are put through the most rigorous training imaginable. Combat scenarios, live fire drills, you name it. We're talking about a space designed for worst-case scenarios, meticulously controlled, highly restricted, not exactly the place you'd expect a casual drop-in, right?
You'd think not, but that's exactly what happens. The pasted text really sets the scene here. You can practically smell the gunpowder, see the live security feeds flickering on the walls, and sense the palpable shock of the top-level instructors, who are in the middle of a training session when Trump walks in. It's like a scene straight out of a movie.
It's almost like the text wants to make us, the readers, feel that same level of disbelief that the agents in the room must have felt. This is long after Trump's presidency. They have a new normal, new protocols. And suddenly, their former protectee is standing in one of their most secure locations.
He's like, where does he want? Why is he here? But then it gets even more interesting, because according to the text, Trump proceeds to directly challenge the lead instructor.
So this is where things shift. The source really emphasizes this transition. The agents go from confused and bewildered to hyper-aware, consciously observant. Remember, these people are trained to evaluate threats, to dissect body language,
Mm.
and anticipate danger. They're seeing Trump through a new lens, and it's not one they were prepared for.
So this confrontation escalates into an actual physical altercation. And the text is very specific here. It claims that Trump doesn't fight like someone who's had basic self-defense training. It describes his moves as almost too instinctive, too precise.
The source even uses the term counter-surveillance takedowns,
Mm.
which suggests a very specific and advanced skill set, the type of training you might find in intelligence agencies, not something you pick up at the local gym. It's a subtle but important detail because it raises questions about Trump's past, about potential training he might have received that we, the public, don't know about it.
It's like this incident suddenly peels back a layer of the persona we all know, revealing something unexpected. And to add another layer, the text tells us that the whole scene is being monitored from a separate surveillance room by high-ranking Secret Service officials. Their reaction: just as stunned as the agents in the training facility.
And think about it. These are people who spent years around Trump,
Hmm.
during his time in office, after. But this event, this display, it forces them to confront the possibility that they might not truly know him.
One analyst even remarks that Trump isn't fighting like a politician. It's like even they, the people tasked with his protection, are realizing that he might be capable of things they never anticipated. So the senior director in that surveillance room, in a move that speaks volumes, immediately orders his team to access Trump's classified security records.
That's a pivotal moment. We have to remember these files are the most sensitive information imaginable, containing details of Trump's past that are not meant to be casually accessed. This highlights the growing level of concern within the Secret Service. They're scrambling to fill in the gaps, to understand what they might have missed.
And what they find is even more intriguing: redacted files, specifically from Trump's time in Moscow in 1987.
Right. That's where part one ends. It's almost like the author deliberately drops this bombshell to make us crave more. What's hidden in those files? Why were they redacted? It sets the stage for some really compelling questions about Trump's past, his connections, and the secrets that might still be hidden.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder if this whole incident was just the tip of the iceberg. It's as if Trump, and stepping into that training facility, unintentionally exposed a whole network of hidden narratives. Questions about power, security, and the information that shapes our understanding of the world.
And this is just the beginning. Let's see where this deep dive takes us next. Picking up where we left off, those redacted files really set off alarm bells, don't they? Like, it begs the question, if even the Secret Service, with all their resources and intelligence, are in the dark about certain aspects of Trump's past, what does that say about the rest of us?
Right. It's like we're suddenly realizing how much we take for granted when it comes to the information we're given about people in power. And it's not just about Trump, it's about the systems of control and secrecy that operate behind the scenes, shaping what we know and how we perceive those in authority.
And it makes you wonder, why Moscow in 1987? Was it just a random trip? Or was there something more significant happening during that period? Something that warranted redacting information from his security records?
I mean, we know from history that Moscow was a hub of political intrigue during the Cold War. Could this be a connection to that era, something that perhaps has implications even today?
It's certainly a possibility. And if that's the case, it makes you question the timing of this entire incident at headquarters. It's not during his presidency,
Mm.
when you might expect some sort of power play, or a need to flex his authority. This happens after, when things have supposedly calmed down.
So what was the purpose? Was it a calculated move to remind everyone of his capabilities? Or was it, as the text suggests, a spontaneous act, perhaps even subconscious, something that inadvertently revealed more than he intended?
That's the million-dollar question. And the test doesn't give us any easy answers. It leaves us with this unsettling ambiguity, forcing us to grapple with the unknown. It challenges our assumptions about those who hold power, the motivations behind their actions, and the stories we tell ourselves about how the world works.
It's almost as if the text is a metaphor for the complexities of power itself, how much of it lies in what you know, what you control, and what you keep hidden. It makes you think about how Trump has always operated, how he's defied expectations and played by his own rules.
And think about the implications for those who were tasked with his security. These are people who were trained to be stoic, unflappable. But the text portrays them as visibly shaken, whispering among themselves, trying to reconcile what they've just witnessed with the image they had of the man they were sworn to protect.
It's like this whole event cracked the facade of control, exposing a level of vulnerability that we rarely see in institutions like the Secret Service. And it's not just them. The text mentions that even high-ranking officials were forced to reassess their understanding of Trump, to reevaluate their protocols and security clearances based on this one incident.
That's a crucial point. It highlights the ripple effect of this event. It wasn't just confined to the walls of Secret Service headquarters. It had the potential to impact national security, intelligence operations, and the way information is disseminated at the highest levels.
It really underscores the power of the unknown, doesn't it? Even in a world where information is readily available, there are still secrets being kept, narratives being carefully crafted, and those hidden truths can have a profound impact on the way we perceive events and those involved.
Absolutely. This source, with its deliberately ambiguous style, forces us to confront the limits of our own knowledge. It reminds us that we only see a fraction of the picture when it comes to people in power, and it challenges us to be more discerning, to question the information we're given, and to consider the possibility that there's always more to the story than meets the eye.
It's like this deep dive has become less about the incident itself and more about a larger exploration of power, perception, and the control of information. It's a reminder that even in an age of transparency, there are still forces working to keep certain narratives hidden. And sometimes, those narratives can be just as powerful, if not more so, than the events themselves.
Precisely. And that brings us to perhaps the most crucial question for our listener. How do we navigate this world of hidden information and shifting narratives? How do we ensure that we're forming our own opinions based on a critical assessment of the evidence, rather than blindly accepting what we're told?
It feels like we've stumbled onto something much bigger here than just an impromptu visit to a training facility. It's almost like Trump, intentionally or not, exposed a crack in the system, a glimpse into the hidden machinery that drives power and shapes our understanding of the world.
That's an insightful way to put it, this whole deep dive. We began with this image of Trump casually walking into Secret Service headquarters. And it's kind of spiraled into this exploration of the unknown, the secrets held by those in power. And the way information is carefully curated and controlled, it makes you ask, what else don't we know? What other narratives are being shaped behind closed doors?
And it makes you think about the role we as citizens play in all of this. Are we just passive consumers of the information that we're given? Or do we have a responsibility to dig deeper, to question assumptions, and to seek out multiple perspectives.
I think that's the most crucial takeaway from this entire deep dive. We can't just blindly accept what we're told, especially when it comes to those who hold power. We have a responsibility to engage critically with information, to consider the sources, the motivations behind those sources,
Yeah.
and the potential biases that might be shaping the narrative.
This source-pasted text, it deliberately leaves us with more questions than answers. It doesn't try to definitively tell us what happened or what it all means. Instead, it invites us to become active participants in the process of uncovering the truth. It's almost like a call to action.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even in an age of unprecedented access to information, the truth is often elusive, and it requires effort, discernment, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions. And sometimes, the most powerful narratives are the ones that remain unspoken, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered.
So for the listener out there who's joined us on this journey through the halls of Secret Service headquarters and the corridors of power, what's the one thing you'd want them to remember from this deep dive?
I'd say it's this. Never underestimate the power of the unknown. Question everything. Seek out diverse perspectives. And remember that even in a world saturated with information, the truth is often a puzzle. That requires us to piece together the fragments, to connect the dots, and to never stop asking questions. That's the essence of critical thinking. And in a world where narratives are constantly being shaped and reshaped, it's more vital than ever.
Well said. This deep dive may have left us with more questions than answers, but it certainly sparked a conversation that's worth continuing. Thanks for joining us.